Hi, everybody. I'm Art Granoff, referenceastrology.com, and this video is the second in a series of three called Developing Archetypal Intelligence, leading up to my course, offering up at the end of June of this year. So let's get going. To recap, in Developing Archetypal Intelligence, Video 1, we discovered archetypal dynamics, asking, is there a lens that helps us find meaning in our lives, personal journeys, and history? Does archetypal astrology offer a way to understand human nature using symbolic patterns connected to planets? And is the way to integrate psychedelics and holotropic states as fantastic as the journey itself? And in Developing Archetypal Intelligence Video 2, we ask, why would a psychonaut want to develop archetypal intelligence? What's the benefits? We explore archetypal character with Greek mythology, Carl Jung, Stan Grof, and Rick Tarnas. And we also look through the Archetypal Telescope in Cosmos Psyche. My journey to understanding LSD and other holotropic states resembled an exciting and challenging treasure hunt. Each finding the way pointed to the next clue. What happened to be an answer opened out into another question. The last one, which is the most unexpected and promising, is the rediscovery of Greek philosophy and cosmology, the understanding of archetypal forms and of archetypal astrology. This was such an important step that I refer to archetypal astrology as the Rosetta Stone of consciousness research. There's a picture of Stan Grof, 1985, 40 years ago. Stan Grof, the major changes in my understanding of LSD can be divided into several periods. Psychopharmacological research, taking medications to achieve results. When Stan first took LSD, he thought he was taking pills to get some type of reaction. Psycholytic psychotherapy, postnatal experiences, and the coax systems. That's when, over in Europe, subjects would be administered small to medium doses of LSD. And they'd sit in the room with the therapist, and they'd be talking about things, trying to bring things up. Psychedelic psychotherapy, a new cartography of the psyche, perinatal experiences. Once Stan increased the dosage and had people laying down with their eyes closed, with music, the whole trip being internal. That's when things really started happening. That's when all types of explorations of the psyche took place, and possibly regression down to the perinatal layers. Perinatal stages of life. Then, transpersonal and world mythology that transcend individual experience. Stan discovered and coined the transpersonal domain, bigger than us, bigger than individual experience, which relates to world mythology and stories from cultures all over the world with the same themes. And archetypes and archetypal cosmology, the Rosetta Stone of the psyche. That Stan's personal experience in psychedelics and his meetup with Richard Tarnas in the mid-1970s. Now, why would a psychonaut want to develop archetypal intelligence? Non-ordinary state navigation, providing a framework for understanding and navigating non-ordinary states of consciousness. Expanded understanding, offering a multidimensional understanding of psychedelic experience, which may enhance interpretation, and integration of experiences, integrating profound psychedelic experiences into one's daily life. How about archetypes across different frameworks? In Greek mythology, archetypes appear as gods goddesses and mythic figures that embody fundamental patterns of human experience. Do these divine figures represent universal principles that shape reality? Well, they had Zeus, Jupiter, the archetype of authority, kingship, and divine order. Aphrodite and Venus, the archetype of love, beauty, and sensuality. Aries, Mars, the archetype of aggression, conflict, and courage. Hermes, Mercury, the archetype of intellect, communication, and boundary crossing. Apollo, Neptune, the archetype of unity, clarity, and artistic harmony. And Dionysus, Pluto, the archetype of ecstatic experience, intoxication, and primal energy. Greek myths explore how these archetypal forces interact, conflict, and transform throughout human experience. Each deity represents not just a personalized force, but a complex psychological pattern that continues to influence human behavior and cultural expression. And there they are over there, the gods and goddesses of the Greek pantheon. Carl Jung. Jung developed the concept of archetypes as universal, primordial images and patterns inherited in the collective unconscious that organize human experience. Archetypes are innate, universal prototypes for ideas that may be used to interpret observations. They exist in the collective unconscious, a part of the unconscious mind shared by all humans. Key Jungian archetypes include the self, the shadow, the anima animus, the persona, and the wise old man, woman. Jung saw archetypes as empty forms filled with imagery from individual and cultural experience. Archetypes cannot be directly known, but manifest through symbols in dreams, art, myths, and religion. They represent the psychic energy patterns that structure our experiences and development. And there's Carl Jung's model of the psyche right there. Stanislav Grof. Grof's archetypal perspective emerged from his work with psychedelics and holotropic breathwork. Archetypes as experiential patterns that become accessible in non-ordinary states of consciousness. They're organized in systems of condensed experience, emotional clusters around similar themes. Grof identified the four basic perinatal matrices, archetypal patterns related to the birth process that shape psychological development. He expanded the concept, including transpersonal archetypes that transcend individual experience. Archetypal experiences in psychedelic and holotropic sessions often relate to death and rebirth, cosmic unity, and encounters with divine or demonic entities. Grof emphasizes the healing potential of connecting with archetypes in therapeutic settings. And here's Stan's extended map of the psyche. Put this over here. And we notice, if we look at this guide here, we see ordinary ego consciousness. We see the personal unconscious right there, postnatal memories. And perhaps we slide down the hourglass, take some psychedelics, do some breath work, get involved in some powerful psyche opening experience. We may regress to the perinatal level, around birth, memories of birth, which also coincides with the astrological chart at the moment of birth. And then we go downtown to the transpersonal and way down to the archetypal dimension. So essentially, in mainstream psychology, with the personal unconscious and postnatal memories, Whereas when you take psychedelics or open up the psyche in a deep way, you regress down to the perinatal level, memories around birth. And you can continue to go further into the transpersonal domain. Okay? So, what Stan Grof is known for, and his mark on the world, is his discovering the perinatal and the transpersonal unconscious. In Stan Grof's extended map of the psyche, not only do we experience personal post-biography consciousness, in addition, we go to the perinatal or around birth memories consciousness and to the transpersonal unconscious. Richard Tarnas synthesized archetypal astrology with cosmology, particularly through reinterpreting astrology. Archetypes are both psychological and cosmological principles that connect inner and outer worlds. They're dynamic, multivalent patterns that can't be reduced to single meanings. Planetary archetypes, correlations between planetary movements, may reveal archetypal patterns in human experience. Archetypes participate in human consciousness rather than causing effects. Examples include Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Archetypes interact in complex combinations that reflect the rich texture of human experience. They work through synchronistic correlations rather than causal mechanisms. Tarnas emphasizes the importance of archetypal astrology as a tool for understanding personal and collective psychological patterns. And Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. We'll talk about one chapter through the Archetypal Telescope. Cosmos and Psyche establishes the foundational framework for archetypal astrology and introduces key concepts that are explored in greater detail throughout the work. The nature of archetypes. Tarnas builds upon Jung's concept of archetypes, yet offers a more dynamic understanding of archetypes as universal principles, or forces that structure both human experience and cosmic patterns. Planetary archetypes. Introduction to the planetary bodies as representing specific archetypal principles. Exploration of how these planetary archetypes manifest in human psychology and culture. And archetypal combinations, how planets and aspect relationships create complex archetypal combinations. And the importance of understanding archetypes not in isolation but in dynamic relationships. Synchronicity and archetypal cosmology. Development of Jung's concept of synchronicity in relation to astrological correlations. Explorations of the relationship between human experience and celestial patterns. Methodology and evidence. Collecting and analyzing historical and biographical data. The importance of rigorous correlation between celestial configurations and historical psychological patterns. And the psychological implications. How archetypal astrology challenges modern assumptions about causality and meaning. The implications for understanding human consciousness in relation to the cosmos. And the potential for a more integrated worldview that bridges scientific and humanistic perspectives. The combined work of Stan Grof and Richard Tarnas, Archetypal Cosmology. Grof and Tarnas's collaboration represents a powerful synthesis of experiential psychology, consciousness research, and archetypal cosmology. Their partnership has produced a comprehensive framework for understanding both individual experiences, collective patterns, through what has become known as archetypal astrology. They started out working together in the 1970s at the Esalen Institute in Big Sur, and their effort emerged from Grof's extensive clinical research with psychedelics and later with holotropic breathwork. Tarnas's philosophical investigations into consciousness and cultural history, their shared interest in exploring the deeper patterns underlining human experience, and a mutual recognition that conventional paradigms were inadequate to explain the full spectrum of consciousness. See this diagram over here? The four basic perinatal matrices. Have you heard of them? Here they are. In the 1960s, after hearing thousands of people talk about their LSD experience, and many seem to say that they appeared to be reliving their birth. And then Stan had the same experience in his sessions. And through time, he developed the four basic perinatal matrices. And here they are. Now, I'm not a doctor, so bear with me. The first matrix, the amniotic universe. Everything seems to be okay in the womb. BPM2, the cosmic oppression. Trying to get out. Things don't look too good. Frustration, anxiety. And BPM3 looks like more of the same intensity, trying to get out of there. And BPM4, we made it, release. When Rick Tarnas came along with astrology in the mid-70s, he discovered that BPM1, the amniotic universe, matched the descriptions of the planet Neptune, undifferentiated consciousness, mystical union, flowing. And the second matrix, BPM2, stuck in the birth canal, frustrated, limit, constriction, had the archetypal character of the planet Saturn. And then BPM3, the intensity, the struggle, trying to get out, Pluto. And 4, pop, we made it. The death rebirth experience, Uranus, illumination, we're here. Key contributions, archetypal astrology as a cartography for non-ordinary states. Their collaborative work established that planetary transits correspond meaningly with the content and quality of psychedelic and holotropic breathwork sessions, the timing of psychological breakthroughs and challenges, patterns of spiritual emergence and emergency, and periods of psychological transformation and healing. Now we can employ astrological transits as a map for navigating non-ordinary states of consciousness, providing context and meaning to experiences that might otherwise seem chaotic or overwhelming. Archetypal intelligence may help integrate several challenges arising from psychedelic experiences post-session. Encountering archetypes in psychedelic states, people often encounter archetypal figures or experiences. Understanding these through an archetypal lens can provide meaning and context. Fear of the unknown. Archetypal understanding can help contextualize the fear of encountering an intelligent, unknown presence during psychedelic sessions. Developing archetypal intelligence can help in making sense of and integrating transpersonal or mystical experiences often encountered in psychedelic states. Spiritual crisis. Knowledge of archetypes can aid in navigating and understanding spiritual crisis that may arise from intense psychedelic experiences. And by developing archetypal intelligence, psychonauts go deeper, potentially leading to more meaningful, transformative journeys. So thanks everybody for tuning into Developing Archetypal Intelligence. Video 1 and 2. We've now set the stage for Video 3, exploring the how-to, or the actual mechanics of psychedelic and holotropic state, post-session integration with archetypal intelligence. Please stay tuned. But first, here's the Developing Archetypal Intelligence course brochure. The course starts at the end of June. Thank you, and see you there.